Wingnut here. Today we're headed to Pecan Grove Store on Highway 16 north of Fredericksburg, Texas.
I used to be a kingpin in the Mexican drug cartel.
Now that would be Mr. Rick Martin. He's going to tell us a story today about backpacking through Barracas del Cabre, aka Copper Canyon, down in Mexico. This is one story that you're not going to hear on TripAdvisor. But first, let's take a look at Pecan Grove itself. It's home of the Dino Burger, best burger in Texas. These burgers are made out of 100% dinosaur meat, fresh and never frozen, shipped in daily from Jurassic Park. There's indoor dining, or you can grab a beer and sit under the trees and enjoy the shade out in the beer garden. There's chairs lined up along the creek where you can sit and enjoy the speedboat races or the tiki surf competitions. There's lots of live music, sometimes inside, sometimes outdoors. It just depends on the weather. If the day ain't enough, you can spend the night. There's RV hookups, a cabin, and tents to rent. If all the tents are rented, bring your own. And don't worry about the speed trap. This guy hadn't caught anybody in years. Before Mr. Rick starts his story, and if you're not one of those dog-hating commies, please take a minute to like and subscribe to my channel. It might save the nation. So take it away, Rick. We're all ears.
A town called Creel. It's just on the edge of the Copper Canyon, which is Barracas del Cabre in Spanish, and Creel is at the edge of that. We found a little hotel to stay in and spend the night. And the next morning we take off and grab our packs, and we're hiking on this road. Back in '80, they had just finished the road from La Bufa down in the canyon to Lapilas. So we start hiking down this old dirt road to La Bufa. And the road is only 1.5 lanes wide, so there's not a whole lot of room. Whenever two vehicles are passing each other, you've got to pull over and let the other one pass. So we get down to the first little valley, and there's a little Terramine village there, and they started out in caves years ago, and you can see the caves along the face cliff, but they had moved into small log cabins. They're probably only barely, you could have to duck to get inside these little log cabins, but they were scattered out through this valley. The Terramine men are dressed in white with embroidery belts, and the women are embroidery skirts. This group here lived there, or came to the tourists there in Creel. Folks would stop on the train, and they sold woven baskets and embroidery belts and stuff, but just curios for the tourists. We met a family, looked inside. There was a little hearth, fireplace, a place to sleep. Wasn't much there, and then they had pens outside for the animals. They invited us, said it was okay for us to spend the night there on the place, and they pointed to a cave up in the cliffs and said that was their ancestral home, and asked if we wanted to go up and take a look at the old place. I said sure. So we hike up there, and we look inside the cave. It's kind of split into two areas. You've got one area that's pinned off for animals, and then the other side is sleeping quarters and a little kitchen area, a little place to cook. Ceiling's all black, probably a couple hundred years of cooking. So anyway, so we visit a little bit, and we go ahead and we walk up to the tree line, and it's all pines at the top of this canyon, so it's tree pretty heavy. We stretch our hammocks and go to sleep for the night. Next day, we take off, and we're going down the trail, and a truck stops and asks us if we want to ride. And we asked him where he's going, and he says, well, I'm going to Lapilas, which was our destination. It's the end of the road. It's as far as you can go down this canyon. And even hitchhiking, it's probably a 3-hour trip down this road. And it's a bunch of switchbacks, back and forth, back and forth. And so after a couple of hours, we get to La Bufa. And La Bufa is also a silver town. And he pulls into this little store. It's not any bigger than this room. And there was a guy there from Arizona, from Tucson. And it was him and his wife had this place. And he asked him, "What are y'all doing out here?" You know, because they don't see a whole lot of tourists. And so, well, we just saw the spot on the map and thought we'd go. So, well, when you get to Balapilas, be careful, you know, it's kind of wild around here. So we get on down to Balapilas, and as we're pulling into town, it's all decorated. It's like a fiesta's going on. I'm going, well, who knew we were coming, you know? And so we get on into town, and we go down to the square, and sure enough, there's a big party. Well, there's these guys on horseback I see riding around with hard hats on, and come to find out it was a political rally, and it was for the PAN, which was the opposition to the PRI. Now, the PRI had been the ruling party in Mexico for generations, and was U.S. backed, and but the PAN was were supposed to be representing the people, and they were also backed by the Catholic Church. So they were up and coming, but they'd only won a few townships. They haven't done anything really big, but they were pretty aggressive towards us. And so what I thought was going to be a party in the plaza was very uncomfortable. So let's get out of here. A couple of people said, "Yankee, go home." One guy asked us if we were CIA, and so we found there's only one hotel in this town, and it's got about 10 rooms. There's no electricity, because realize they only just got the road in there 2 years before that. So no electricity. It's all the lights are kerosene, battery operated, radio, stuff like that. That's why he's bringing propane, because the propane is that's for their little bit of heat that they need, and for their stove for cooking and stuff. So we check into the hotel. Well, as I'm checking, the lady shows us our room. It's right on the sidewalk. It's only about this wide between the street and the door. And the door is kind of a Mexican-style double door, and you lock it with a 2-4. That's pretty cool. You know, I thought that was all right. So we walk into the room. A couple of boxes, kerosene lantern, and so she leaves, and we go to check out find out what the bathroom is. Well, we open the back door, which is locked the same way. It opens up right into the barn where all those horses were from those PAN political people, and then you have to walk past the horses, and then there's the bagnio. Now, this hotel is built above the river, about 30 feet off the water. Well, the toilet is hanging out over the river, so you can understand why all the women will wash their clothes upriver. Not a good place to be if you're further down. So, but that was the bathroom. That's pretty wild. But we're a little uncomfortable because those guys who were kind of rallying people up were staying in the same hotel. Well, so we go to eat at the little restaurant they had there in the hotel. Had something to eat. The people that were just great. We met a couple other people on the street. The locals seemed to be nice, but the political people weren't too happy, like I said, to see us. So, but we had to grab us a couple of beers. I think we bought a 6-pack, and we had a couple of beers. We were sitting out on a little rock wall across from the room, kind of watching the town go by. The sun's starting to set. Had a couple of more people come up and go, "Yankee, go home." Just, I can understand that. My buddy spoke good Spanish. My Spanish was kind of hit and miss. But I can understand Yankee, go home. So we were uncomfortable. We just it was not bad. We had a plan though. So we said, "Hey, listen, what we'll do is we'll have our knives open. We'll take turns staying awake, a 2-hour shifts. And at whichever door they come in, we'll throw the kerosene lantern at that door, and then cut our way out the back one, whichever one would come in." Of course, they probably could have come in both doors and we're dead. But that was the best plan we could come up with. So we took turns staying up all night. Well, it was, it quieted down, and next morning it was nice and quiet. Hear a couple of chickens, and no traffic. Well, there weren't hardly any vehicles in that town anyway. But a few people walking around, but it was quiet. Wow, I guess we overreacted, So we took and sat there a little bit longer, and then I look down the road and I see a cloud of dust coming. I'm going, oh no, what is this? And here come two white, oversized Suburbans full of soldiers. And they pile out of these two vehicles, the M16s. A couple of guys kind of like stand guard. And the captain comes over to us. He didn't ask any questions. He just looks at the two of us and says, you guys need to leave. Your life is in jeopardy. It's not safe to be here for you. And I said, how? I said, we hiked in. He said, walk. And then he yelled at me, now. I mean, he was serious. So we went and got our backpacks and we got the heck out of there, started walking out. Walked for a couple of miles. And finally we felt somewhat safe, kept looking over our shoulders thinking somebody's going to be riding up on us at any minute. But never saw another vehicle. Got the heck out of there. Got back to Texas. Nothing really eventful happened on the way. Just got home as soon as we could. When we got back to Presidio, we were glad to be in Texas, and we felt like we appreciated life just a little bit more than we did when we left.
Well, thank you, Mr. Rick. I think the moral of the story here is, don't go traipsing across Mexico until you do your homework. That place sounds like it's almost as dangerous as New Orleans. You'll be a whole lot safer sitting under the trees at Pecan Grove eating one of these masterpieces of a hamburger. So come on down and join them sometimes. They're always open unless they're closed.
The thoughts, opinions, and somewhat factual information shared by one Mr. Wing Nut are simply exhibits of his own imagination, and by no means should be taken as fact. Mr. Wingnut prides himself on blurring the line between fact and fiction. Seriously, he should not be taken seriously.